Okay. Uh, I'm Moshe. Today is the third of February. It's 9:51 in the morning. We're still getting more rain. Our water level is very, very high. All of Israel is getting rain. All of Israel has a lot of water. A lot of water is, it seeps into the ground and the roots of the plants and all that get it. And there's more water coming to the plants because of the runoff from the mountains. It's going to be all through Israel. Now, the Lord has been really making me acutely aware of this rain. Okay? Today, we're not going to, I don't know, it's 60% chance of rain. Tomorrow, we're actually going to have partial sunny and no rain. I'm looking forward to it. And then the day after, which is Monday, 40% chance of rain and cloudy. And then Tuesday, we get our breakout where the temperatures are going to rise to the mid and high 60s in the coming days. And then by, we'll hit almost 70 into, the week after. So the rain's pretty much tapering down. Let me check another weather report, which is sometimes better. This is important to what I'm going to be covering today, okay? Rain, followed by sun equals lots of crops. Okay, let's get that down. Lots of crops feeds lots of people. I'm waiting for this weather thing to load. It's not cooperating too good. It's sort of a problematic app. I don't know what's doing. We'll have to come back to it. Maybe if it's trouble app. It doesn't want to load, which is, oh, wait a minute, I got a bad internet. Okay. My Wi-Fi network's not doing its job. Oh, I see the problem. Okay, we'll fix that. Waiting for it to fix here. There we go. Now it should load. Let's give it a chance. It may have been stuck. There it goes. Okay. So the other app is not for my immediate area, it's for the region. And they're saying rain through 4 p.m. Then it'll stop. Then it's saying tomorrow 64%, Monday 58, and then Tuesday it drops down. It goes 33%, then 15, then 7, then 4, then 10% chance of rain is pretty much always what they're going to show. So we got another few days of this intermittent rain. By giving us the rain intermittently, what it does, like we've never had, I don't think we had anything where it rained for 12 hours during this whole big storm in a row. It would always come and go. So that gives the ground a chance to absorb it without any major flooding, And that can be important. It is important what I'm going to talk about. So let me go into the chat and make sure everything's good while we wait for people to come in, which is only fair. Today's going to be a pretty broad, comprehensive Bible study. It's not going to be that hard, but it's going to be like medium, but it's going to be pretty interesting and revealing. We're going to have to talk about the wars too today. But I'm not running this as an intel thing to get those people here. I'm not going to be much longer. But it's good to let people have a chance to come in. I don't like putting a counter on the screen that counts down by minutes, and I don't even know how to do it, but I'm pretty sure I could figure it out without much trouble. I think you just broadcast the counter. Almost there. And there we are. Okay, being a Bible-believing site, let's do our praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, I made a mistake yesterday on the countdown of the months of the year of recompenses, which began, give or take a few days, August 1st. I don't know why I made that mistake, but I'll count it down for you correctly today. The starting of this would be, let's assume it's August 1st. So we got August, September, October, November, December, January. 6 months have passed. We're in February, which is the 7th month. How many months remain? Assuming February, because it's only the 3rd of the month, right? So you got February, March, April, May, June, July. We got 6 months to go, so we're in the middle of it. Okay. I made a mistake by a month, and I said we were in the 6 months. Sorry about that. I don't know why I made that mistake. Maybe I was thinking of the remaining months. I don't know what I did. But anyway, it should be corrected. All right. Before we get started, I want to tell you how the Lord teaches me and how it applies to you. Scripture I'm talking about. If you just get told this is this and that is that, you're going to be subject to blown about by every wind of doctrine. I have to be extremely careful that that doesn't happen to me when I go around looking at what the false teachers in the church world are teaching, okay? Because I like to debunk that stuff. And I don't think I should. I've cut down on that considerably. I don't pay attention to many of them. They're, all bad fruit, or they're sometimes innocent people. I see YouTube videos where the people get, like 50 views or 10 views or no views, and I try to listen to them sometimes to see what they're talking about. Generally, they're not Satan bots, and they're just people that think they got the insights and they don't. It's rare that you ever find somebody that'll kick against the church. They're out there, but they usually don't have the Bible down straight, not just prophecy, many things. Every so often I get somebody that, finds me and they value themselves as an advanced teacher, and they're not. And they come at me like a peer, I don't want to, trump myself up, but they don't know what I would consider in my mind the basics to starting to get, correct Bible doctrine, okay? And they will times ask me questions. They want, what is this, what is that? And then usually I put up with that, and then comes the disagreements, and they fall, they're not they're not doing it. They're not teaching anybody. They're just couch potatoing, and they're not acting like students that want to learn. They're acting like, I don't know what, they got their own category they put themselves in. But you've got to understand the scriptures to back up what you're saying. Now, the Lord will very occasionally, unusual actually, show me things that you're not going to really get out of the scriptures, like when the year of recompense started. Okay, what the times and a half a time mean, which is captivity. How many times were they in captivity? Well, it was Egypt, Babylon, Rome, which is 70 AD, 200,000 were taken back to Rome. And then you get the half a time, which is Zechariah 14, which is the great day of the Lord, which is Gog and Magog, when half of Jerusalem goes into captivity, and that's never happened yet. Never in history did we ever see anything like that, where the remainders just stay there. Okay? So that's never happened yet. And those are two things that come to mind that he had to show me. He just told me these things and revealed them to me. Now, God will usually talk with a small, still voice. It's like in a science fiction movie, you'd call it telepathy or something, right? That's not a biblical concept, all right? There were times that he spoke to me with an audible voice that is normally warning me, okay? About people, about persons or something going on with people, okay? That's probably to get my attention, all right? Now, this, if you want to relate to it somehow, Elijah's hiding out, and, God comes like an earthquake, like fire, like a powerful wind that breaks the rocks. I don't know how fast the wind has to go to break rocks, but I never heard of that. And then the small, still voice. Okay, that's how he talks to me, a small, still voice. And he lets me make mistakes. He tries to show it to me, and I don't get it. And he's teaching me about when I feel something doesn't have a good fit, I have to stop and regroup and go back and dig into it deeper. Okay? He normally, these days, and it's not always been this way, but the way I am at my advanced age and physical deterioration, he usually works with me in the morning, and I work with him in the morning, and then I do the broadcast. Many times he shows me things during the broadcast, many times. Hopefully today he will. Pray that he will. Because there's still some gray areas I have. And then I normally am, like I would say, kind of on my own. What do I want to do the rest of the day? He doesn't encourage me after this, which is usually 6 to 8 hours till the broadcast is over and I start preparing. He doesn't usually want me to go dig into the scriptures deeper anymore after that. That's enough. And I have a feeling that if I was, let's say 30 years younger, it would be the same, because it's your mind that gets tired. Your legs and your hands are not tired, it's your mind. So he's very, I don't know, nice to me about that. Extremely. He's very nice in general, all around. Now, you got to understand that he deals with, if you're a believer and you're trying, he's going to deal with you with a small, still voice in a way that you're going to learn it and grasp it when you're doing Bible work with the Lord, with the anointing. And when I learned spiritual warfare a few decades ago in Israel, I made mistakes. Okay? One mistake was, I told this story, there was a woman that was a witch. She had a grandson, and she had a little dog. I don't know if it was a poodle, I think a miniature poodle. I can't remember that well. It's a little white fluffy thing like my little guys. And every time I used to exercise walk then, it was a good 30 years ago or more, I would do exercise walks up the hills in Tiberias. And every time I came near this woman, the dog would bark at me incessantly. And then I realized, this is when I was doing a lot of spiritual warfare. I was walking around the streets, and Orthodox kids would come up to me and do this to curse me. Their whole area knew who I was. And I, at that time, figured I was going to just continue the good fight, and I assumed I was going to die there. What I learned then is, when you think you're going to die there and you don't care, you're just going to push forward, that's when he really starts to work with you. That's a turning point. But you got to really, really have it. You can't just con yourself. You got to really, I really thought it was over. And I didn't care. I was just going to go forward. And I was tossing like crazy. I was on unemployment insurance. I didn't work then. And unemployment insurance in Israel is generous. It's half your wages to a point. If you make $1 million a month, they don't go half. It's, to a reasonable point. So I had enough. Back then, life in Israel was cheap. I was able to pay the rent and get the food and all that stuff. I didn't have any trouble. And I was learning things. So the dog, I'm walking by the dog, and I go under my breath, but audibly in the net. Now, I don't remember if I did Yeshua HaMashiach or Jesus. I don't remember it. But I said it, let's just say I was doing Jesus back then, but I was also tossing demons in Hebrew back then, and I honestly don't remember what I used. But I said, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, is what I think I probably said, I bind you, unclean spirits, in the dog. Words to that effect. The dog cocked his head. You know how they do that when they're puzzled and they look at you? And the dog cocked his head and looked at me for maybe a second or two, and then started barking again. So I crossed the street, and once I got out of the roadway, I said, Lord, what did I do wrong? And he said to me with the small, still voice, how long did you bind the dog for? How long did you bind it for, I think he said. So I realized then that you don't do the binding on demon tossing. It's not the same thing. Forget the binding. Okay? So I realized that I made a mistake, like in a flash, So I learned that, and then I learned by experience that, you can toss people even though they don't hear you speak. And then I realized you could probably do it at any distance because it's not something that's done in the physical realm, it's done in the spiritual realm, and God is the one that performs his word, and it's his word. Those that believe in my name shall cast out devils, demons, devils, right? Okay, so I learned this stuff, and then at one point Yeshua told the woman, the demon is gone from your daughter or your son or something, and he wasn't even present with the daughter or the son. So I realized that you could do this stuff at distance. Anyway, I learned by making mistakes with the spiritual warfare. And unfortunately for you guys, and I feel terrible myself, I make mistakes, especially in these latter months because, well, all along, because I'm trying to dig into some of the hardest prophetic scriptures that I think exist. And I'm by myself. I'm not sitting here with Apostle John going back and forth and having debates over it. I'm sitting here by myself. Okay? And I'm still learning how to listen and how to understand when I feel spiritually something's uncomfortable about this scripture. And I'm being trained too, okay? What can I tell you? Elijah was being trained. He ran away, Now, one time he ran away and God had the ravens feed him by a brook of water, so he had water and food. Other times he just ran away and God didn't want him running away. Was Elijah in those days teaching scriptures? Well, he must have been because he was basically in charge of the school of prophets, so he would have had to, I think. But we're not getting prophecies from Elijah in the English for the future. For our days, he wasn't doing that. Okay, we got it from many other prophets, but he was doing what he's going to do again, which is restoring Israel back to God and killing the false prophets. Elijah's a prophet, he's a son of God, and he is a man of war. Okay? He's a man of war. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to make war on the believers. He'll never do that. He'll never do that. Okay? You don't run from Elijah or Apostle John, the other witness. You don't run from them. You run to them. Okay? They're not going to, what do you think they're going to do to you? You know what I mean? They might, if you were having Bible studies with them, they might correct your errors in the scriptures or something like that. Maybe they'd snap at you even for, some error or something like that, but that's teaching, I remember when I first started with karate school, I was, 16, 17, something like that. And it was a non-profit called Japan Karate Association. And they charged, I think, $6 a month. It was almost free, My mother used to give me the money, and I would go after. I didn't start till I was in college. I went to college for 2 years in New York City. I'd come back from college, I'd do my homework, and then I would go out again and get on the subway at night and take it down to the school, and I would go through the class and then come home. And they had a stick, like a bamboo stick, and if you weren't following the teaching, they'd give you a whack with the stick, not really hurt you. Now, Elijah's not going to do that. Neither will Apostle John, but they might hit you with the tongue or something like that, okay? That's about the worst you're going to get from them. They're not here to reign over the believers with a rod of iron and fire and plagues. Don't go there with that, because that's the church should probably want you to go there. All right, so I'm thinking. Let's start with: is there a harvest for the daughter of Babylon, America? Is there really such a harvest? Let me take a look. People come in here and they think we don't know 2 John 9-11, and they say, give me a shout out or say hello to me. We understand that, and that's why we don't do it. Okay. Let me get my notes so I can go right to that scripture. Yeah, I'm going to stand on that if you're wondering, but I'll read it to you again. Jeremiah 51:33. For thus saith Jehovah of armies, Elohim Yisrael, the daughter of Babylon, i.e. USA, is like a threshing floor. Let's break the words down and make sure. It says, is like a threshing floor, which is one Hebrew word. It's called, it's in English you would transliterate it Gorin. And Strong's uses that basically to call it a threshing floor. So it's correct, okay? So what it's saying is daughter should be bought, yeah, it's the right word. Bought Babel, threshing floor. A threshing floor with the harvest is where they separate the chaff from the wheat, let's say. The wheat are the real believers. Going back to Matthew 13, we learned that the tares in the wheat. And the threshing floor is a floor where all the stuff they reap from the fields, they throw it in there and they separate the wheat from what's called the chaff, which is the junk that you don't want to eat. And then they gather the wheat into the barn or the silo. I would use the word barn because Yeshua did. And the chaff, they burn it up. It's junk. They just burn it up. Okay? And then it says, it is time. Now, there's only one word used in the Hebrew text, and it's relatively correct. It's et, and Strong's puts it in English as now or when. Okay? So threshing floor, then it would say now, okay? And then it says thresh, which is the word darak, which is to tread. But let's see how Strong's flips it into English. Tread, walk. So apparently they're using their feet to thresh it, okay? Walking on it. So it says a little while, but Mayat is word that means slight or little or something. Let's see. Little. So what it's saying, daughter of Babel is like a threshing floor, time to tread. The word hers doesn't appear. The word yet is owed. They don't have this translated right. Strong's puts it in English. Continuing, okay. So continuing miod, which would be little, continuing little, and at the time of our harvest, which is expire, and I think they have this correct. Harvest or reap, I would say they're okay with harvest. Shall come, and the word shall come is, they put two words in for one, it comes. So let's keep reading a little bit because it's going to develop. And then 51:34, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babel, hath devoured me, he hath crushed me, he hath made me an empty vessel, he hath swallowed me up like a dragon, he hath filled his belly with my delicacies, he has cast me out. I would say that this is applying to the Babylonian days with Nebuchadnezzar, not this Nebuchadnezzar that we read elsewhere in Jeremiah 50:51, but the old time Nebuchadnezzar, where they burned the temple and took all the artifacts back as trophies and stuff like that. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babel, shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, shall Jerusalem say. Is this a throwback to the old days or something new? You can kind of go either way on this. But I think because it's talking about the old Nebuchadnezzar, it's the old days. For thus saith Jehovah, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her seed. Now this is the vengeance, the day of vengeance in the year of recompenses on the daughter of Babylon. And make her springs dry, and Babel shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and a hissing without an inhabitant. Now that's clearly not Israel, that's daughter of Babylon. So there does appear to be a exodus from the daughter of Babylon. It's quite strongly right there. Now, the $1 million question is this also the second exodus? It does happen in America, and we know America is going to get it in the year of recompenses, which has got 6 months left. That I don't have doubt on anymore, okay? But is it the same as the second Exodus? That's some of the things we're going to look at today. Okay? Now, I was supposed to do this yesterday. I was going to do the second Exodus, and I didn't. I simply think I got distracted or forgot, or both. And I didn't get a good Bible study yesterday because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. See, I make mistakes. Okay, I'm learning. Okay, I'm a work in progress too. So I'm doing it today, and I got some insight that hit me like a brick in the head. Okay, and you're going to like it. It's not going to be anything negative. You're going to say, oh, wow, this is great. But it still was something I had wrong, and I'm going to try to correct it right now. I will correct it right now. So this is what we're going to deal with now is Zechariah 12 really Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38, 39, Zechariah chapters 8 to 11, the whole book of Joel, and Isaiah 13 into 14. And the answer that I really have to go to is my old version of it. No, it's not the same. Now let's stop for a minute and talk about Israel. 28% of Israel lives at the poverty line. Remember that. It's gonna make sense when I cover Ezekiel 34. The employee tax rate, unless you're making pittance money, is 50%, plus a 17% VAT, which is like a sales tax. It also applies to imports too. And they also put this tax on services, like an accountant or a lawyer. Even though there's no product, they put the tax on the service. And there's a $3 per gallon gas on gasoline or diesel fuel for your car. $3 a gallon plus the price of the gas. So it's $8 for diesel now a gallon, right? It's over $8. We got a diesel car. I'm not sure what the regular gas is. Probably higher or the same. It's not less. I mean, there might be a couple of pennies less or something, but it's up there. Food prices are crazy. The Gazans before the war were paying about 1/4 what we do for food. The rabbis put a very high penalty, they put a high price on the kosher of the food. Kosher is never found in the Old Testament. All you ever hear about is clean animals and unclean animals, clean fish and unclean fish. Every fruit and vegetable is clean. Water is clean. They kosher the water. On the water bottles, it says kosher. I never heard of anything idiotic like that. Then they have another level of kosher. They have several levels of kosher. One is kosher parav, or in Yiddish they call it pesadika, which is kosher for Passover. It's the unleavened bread holiday for a week. That's not in the Bible. Then they have glot kosher. Glot kosher is a myth they purport, or they play on the people, that these animals for meat are not exposed to unclean animals. So the cows are not there with the pigs, or other unclean animals like an elephant. Come on, Now, let's talk about how that could possibly be the case. If they're outside or even inside, they're going to have insects. And insects are going to be, for the most part, unclean. Okay? Snakes might run around, worms might run around, stuff like that. So, yeah, you could definitely make sure that you don't have any, pig pens right there with the cows or the chickens. But let's get real. It's fairly stupid. If chickens are outside, they're going to eat unclean bugs. It's ridiculous. Okay. That's glot kosher, and the premium for glot kosher food is way higher. And these people like to do Tarzan and beat their chest, I only eat glot kosher, and then they'll have a few rental houses and they'll torment and torture and penalize the tenant. Not good. Very very evil. Now, it gets worse. They have another kind of kosher called Mehedrin. 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 I don't have the perfect pronunciation. And that food is being inspected so it doesn't have bugs in it. So if you're eating a pear, there might be a tiny bug in there, like 128th of an inch. And if you eat that, you're breaking kashrut, which is Talmudic kosher law. It's not Bible. And that's the theater of the absurd. Does the scripture say that? I mean, you shouldn't eat a bug in a pear or an apple, obviously, right? But, I mean, does it have rules that the fruit and the vegetables need to be inspected so you don't find microscopic, or my eyes are not good, I would never detect the bug? I mean, of course not. You know, and I used to think they were running our food prices up by 15%. I think it's probably 25 or 35% or more. And the supermarket people raise the prices, and they price fix as high as they can. These grosse Ganoffs, which is Yiddish for big thieves, change the prices. A chain with, let's say, 200 stores in Israel will change their prices by the region depending on the competition in the region, but they all pretty much try to keep their prices as high as they possibly can, strangling the people. And the people go to the stores and they buy the cheapest food they can. Most of the people do. Now, if you go to prosperous cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Caesarea and a few other cities with this wealthier people, they're going to have high-grade food in those same supermarkets, which they wouldn't up here in my area. And these people don't care. They just go to the store and they look at what looks good and they buy it. When I was in the world and I made a lot of money, that's how I shopped. I didn't pay attention to the prices. I just looked for what I wanted. Now, occasionally I did. Like at that time, I was on a kick that you should drink red wine for your health. So before I went to sleep at night, I drank a glass of red wine. And I used to look at the prices because in some of the wines would be $60, $80, or I don't think they had more than that in the store, but in the supermarket. But, you know, I used to keep the prices to $16 or less. And I used to get upset stomachs for it. And after a while, maybe a year or so, I gave it up. And then I learned they put some preservative in that, and that's why I was getting an upset stomach. So you had to find organic wine that didn't have that, but it still had a little of it in there, but not enough to really bother you. But I just gave up on the red wine stuff, you know. So they're hurting the people, and the people are eating junk. They buy the cheapest grade stuff. They buy the cheapest grade clothes. They buy cheap tires, you know, most of the people. There's a large amount of people, I think it's over 25%, that their children, they don't have enough money to give their children lunch at school. So the kids get a breakfast and they come home and they have dinner and a snack. They don't give them. I mean, it's sad what this government does to the regular poor people. People don't want to turn their electricity on. There's a national electric company here, and they gouge the people for insane electric prices. Water prices are very high for the water. I can't really tell if they put fluoride in the water or not. There was a law passed they weren't supposed to do it. So we got to drinking a lot of bottled water, hoping that it didn't have it in there. Now, we then bought, recently, my wife got a knockoff of a Berkey water filter that was cheaper, and it takes the actual Berkey filters. So I believe the filters she's using gets rid of the fluoride and the chlorine, and we use that a lot more. I use it for making coffee and soup, where I just used to use tap water. I don't notice any difference, but that's what we do. For cooking water of other things, we would use that water. The landlords make the tenant pay what's called arnona, which is the property tax, and that's standard practice all over Israel. I don't want to get into it now, it's not that relevant, but the landlords force many tenants, the law letting them do it, to have to pay for the repairs on the house. It's a long story, but that's how the cookie crumbles. The vast majority of landlords are horrible people. When you buy a house in Israel, you don't really get the house. You get a 50-year land lease from the government of Israel that owns the land. And you have to renew this lease every 50 years, and they can tell you that you have to make certain improvements on it to renew the lease. Now, 6% of the properties here are not owned that way by Israel, and so people can buy that kind of house, and I don't think it applies except to 94% of the land. And non-Jews are not allowed to own the 94% of the land, just the 6%. I mean, I don't know what else I could tell you. There's a mandatory draft for women and men. I could go on and on, okay? So everything you buy in Israel has a 17% tax on it. This is pretty relevant to what we're going to cover in a few minutes. So people live and they don't want to run their air conditioning is in their electric because it's so expensive. The price of cars here. Most cars have 100% tax. That means a $20,000 car in America is $40,000 here. A luxury car has 150% tax or higher, I think. So that means that if you were going to buy a $100,000 Cadillac Escalade, you would pay $250,000 for it in Israel. Okay? I'm thinking what else these characters do. It's not just Netanyahu, it's his predecessors too, although he's the worst. And you also have to know, under the Netanyahu reign of terror from him, as I call it, which has lasted over 20 years, he's knocked Aliyah down by at least 90%. That's Jews moving to Israel. He doesn't seek Jews to move to Israel. And Israelis under him have been moving out because the rental prices and the purchase prices of land has been so high, combined with high car prices, high gas prices, high electric prices, high food prices, high everything prices. People that were born in Israel are leaving Israel because they know they're never going to be able to afford to buy a house because of the wages. The Satan bots own the big businesses that make the millions of dollars. There's in Tel Aviv over 3,000 millionaires and a substantial amount of billionaires. But that money doesn't go to the people, the working people. It's the S-bots only that have this. And they're the ones that are getting the government contracts. And they're the ones that are getting approval to have good businesses. Now, there's a lot of people that run small grocery stores in Israel, little hardware stores, little car repairs, little tire stores, repair tires, sell tires, what else? Little businesses like America before Walmart in the 50s and 60s even. There were small businesses. You know, a pizza store, a shawarma store, a falafel store, an ice cream store. This still goes on in Israel, where in America that stuff to a great extent has been obliterated by the franchises and the chains. Where in America, in Israel, it still does go on. Little clothing stores and you know, things like this. Restaurants, small restaurants. That still goes on. Oh, these floors are so slippery. All right, I'm going to take a fast break for a minute. Let me bring a few more points out that are going to be relevant to the prophecy we're going to study in Ezekiel 34, and that is in the history of Israel, they started discriminating against.
Here's what I found.
They started discriminating against Messianics decades ago, not letting them come in. Under the Netanyahu years, they asked every person making Aliyah if they ever believed in Jesus or Yeshua, or now do, and if they say yes, they cancel their immigration and they have to go to the high court and appeal it. Now, there is a Supreme Court decision that they cannot do that to Messianics, yet Netanyahu lets the immigration authorities do it. And then you have a court battle, which you're going to win, and it's expensive. They say it costs $80,000. Now, there are some charitable law firms that are not pro-Messianic per se. They're liberal, and they think every Jew should be able to come into Israel, even if he's a Muslim or whatever. So they'll take your case at times for free. Okay? Now, what the government usually does is, before the case comes to trial, because the judges get ticked off at them, they'll offer the person a permanent citizenship, permanent residency, which means they can't vote, and drop the court case. Some accept it and some don't. You don't get a passport, and you can't vote, and you can't do a few other things, not much really. Okay, so they're keeping Messianics out against the law, and Netanyahu's doing that. I'm thinking what else I should tell you about the way they operate. The little stores, the grocery stores, buy their food from the big food distributors, and their prices are much higher than a supermarket, because the supermarkets are chains predominantly, and they're going to buy in great volume. So the little guy pays a lot less, and that protects the high value of the high prices of the food. It keeps it high. But because their overhead is much lower, they still can offer you a price similar to the supermarket, or in some cases even less. Okay? It's a sick place. You have to understand. It's sick. Okay? All right. So now we'll go into Ezekiel 34. I'll check the chat very quickly. I don't know how to help you. I do this. I'm glad to see people from Pakistan. That's great, but I don't know how to help you understand, because I do this in English, so I don't know what else I can do. Okay, Ezekiel 34. And we're going to try to figure out when this happens. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say unto them, Thus saith Adonai Jehovah unto the shepherds, Woe be to the shepherds of Israel. Oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. You're not allowed to have solar panels in Israel. You got to listen to the whole thing, except for your hot water heater. That goes back many years ago. So you could have a panel on your roof, which practically every house does, and you have a They call it Dude Shemesh. It's a similar shape to the hot water heaters you have in America in your garage or something or in a closet of an apartment house that are heated by gas. Except these get heated one of two ways. You have a switch you could turn on and use electricity to heat it, which is expensive, but in the cloudy days of winter, you have no choice. In the cold winter days when the sun comes out, it will get the water lukewarm, like not good enough to take a shower. But you don't have to run the electric that much. Instead of taking it from cold to hot, you're taking it from lukewarm or room temperature, let's say, to hot. If you don't mind cold showers, which I mind, then you could just take cold showers in the winter and come out and your lips will be blue and you'll be shivering, you know. So, if you put solar panels in your house and they know you're doing it, they'll give you a lot of trouble. You won't put you in jail. What you're supposed to do is tell the electric company, and you have to meter it and route it in such a way that you sell your electricity from the solar panels to the electric company at a low price. And then they sell electricity back to you to run your house at a higher price. So all it does is reduce your electric costs by something. Almost nobody does it. Now that's a heck of a yoke when you look at the whole picture. Unto the shepherds, woe be to the shepherds of Israel that do feed themselves. Should not the shepherds feed the flocks? You eat the fat, and you clothe you with the wool. You kill them that are fed. You feed not the flock. The shepherds are not just the rabbis, it's the government of Israel. It's not like it was in olden times. You know, you've got the rabbis run charitable organizations. A lot of the espots that are in Orthodoxy learn Kabbalah, witchcraft, sorcery, and they go out in the world and they make tremendous amounts of money. They're in the diamond district, garment district, many industries, and they funnel that money back into the ultra Orthodox, and they provide charity for their own kind. And some actually expanded out to the Jews to keep the Talmudic thing going, which is not the Bible. They call it Torah, but it's not. They call Kabbalah Torah, but it's not. That keeps them going, okay, economically, so they can live here. And they're trying to run the place to the Talmud, which is absurd. We're going to be dealing with that. So the other things the government does is they provide very poor rent subsidies for poor people. They provide disability payments for poor people, for injured people. They provide the government healthcare plan, which is, you know, not great, but it's probably like what you have in America with Blue Cross or something like that, HMOs. It's like on an HMO style kind of. I don't want to get into that. And it's not good. And they have, the rich people use private health care, which is much better. They had to pay a lot of money into that. And they still have to support the government health care because it's the law. And they provide the defense of Israel. They provide the schools of Israel, the roads, the justice system, the courts, which are, oh gosh, don't ask. Licensing systems for different trades and handicrafts and business licenses. They have a chief rabbinate's office, which is the only ones that are allowed to declare a store kosher. They control immigration. They control the marriages and who could have a Jewish burial in Israel and all this stuff, right? they are shepherds also. Their role has been overexpanded. You know, they're not just providing electric, water, roads, and defense. They're way into controlling the people and all of this stuff. So they're shepherds too. The diseased have you not strengthened, neither have you healed that which was sick, neither have you been. That's because the healthcare system versus God's healing in the Bible for the priests and the Levites is different than having HMO, you know. Have you bound that which was broken? Neither have you brought again. Well, also they lay hands on the sick, anointed with oil, confess his sins, and he shall be healed. They suppress anything to do with Yeshua here, or the New Testament. The rabbis teach them that if you have a New Testament in your house, you bring a curse on your house. Getting the picture yet? Have you brought again that which is driven away? Well, they in the beginning they did. That's the dispersed Israelites. They don't do it anymore under the Netanyahu years. They don't care. They discourage it. Neither have you sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have you ruled them. That's how the government rules us. No, you can't have guns. Look what happened on October 7th. 5 years in jail if you carry a knife in Israel. You got all the terrorists do. And they were scattered because there is no shepherd, and became meat to all the beasts of the field when they were scattered. Now we need to break down the word beasts of the field. Does that mean they were not in Israel and coyotes and wolves and bears were eating them? Well, let's break the words down. Chai is the word that doesn't really mean beasts, but it could mean a beast. I'll explain. The word is chai. There's a song the kids in Israel sing, and it kind of goes like this. I gotta get to the beginning of the song. It says they're singing about animals. The little girls were singing. It said, "As a coyote," which means coyote is from chai. It means an animal, a beast. Say, "As a coyote," and then the girls would answer, "Coyote the boat." The boat is a teddy bear. It's a joke song the kids would sing, right? So it could also, you could stretch it to mean a beast. What happened on October 7th? Beasts came in. You got it? Of the field. Let's look at the word field. Whoops. Sedel. 7704. Whoops. Keeps giving me trouble. 7704 Strong's number. Right, this thing doesn't want to cooperate. Okay. Strong's puts this in English as spread out or a field, a country. So the beasts of the field are the people that persecuted them in my book. My sheep wandered. You could also talk about wolves in sheep clothing and the lambs or the sheep, but let's continue. My sheep wandered through all the mountains and upon every high hill. Yea, my flock was scattered upon all the face of the earth. And none did search or seek after them. Well, under the Netanyahu years, nothing. There's no effort to bring them in. When the Ukraine war started, a lot of Jews from Ukraine came to Israel, and many of them left. It's so horrible here. Many of them left. Therefore, you shepherds, hear the word of Jehovah. As I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, surely because my flocks became a prey, and my flocks became meat to every beast of the field, animals talking, heathen, because there was no shepherd. Neither did my shepherds search for my flock. That's the rabbis. They don't do anything. But they discourage people from moving to Israel. They say, oh, Israel's not for everybody and stuff like that. But the shepherds fed themselves and fed not my flock. Shepherds fed themselves and not my flock. That's the government taking care of itself, the rabbis taking care of themselves. Therefore, O you shepherds, hear the word of Jehovah. Now, the word for shepherds is 7462. It's Ra'ah. And let's see what Strong's, how he flips it into English. Tend to flock. Yeah, shepherds is okay. Ezekiel 34:10. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will require my flock at their hand. Okay, that means he's taking it away from them, their control. And cause them to cease from feeding the flock. Neither shall the shepherds feed themselves anymore, for I will deliver my flock from their mouth, that they may not be meat for them. Now, what that means is they're living off us, like racking our food prices up so the rabbi organizations that declare food kosher can make a lot of money. Tax the people into the ground, stuff like this. They make it so hard for people to live here. For thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I will both search my sheep and seek them out. Aha! As a shepherd seeketh his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep and deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day. And I will bring them out. Now, the cloudy and dark day would be the, 70 AD era, continuing the 2,000-year punishment, which is pretty much over. And I will bring them out from the people and gather them from the countries, and will bring them to their own land and feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers and in all the inhabited places of the country. So we've just had lots of rain, which is going to increase our harvests. for my people yet to come, I guess. And I will feed them in a good pasture, and upon the high mountains of Israel shall their fold be. There shall they lie in a good fold, in a fat pasture, and they feed upon the mountains of Israel. It's saying that, the sheep have enough grass to eat in a beautiful pasture. That's what he's saying. I will feed my flock. I will cause them to lie down, saith Adonai Jehovah. Rest. I will seek that which was lost tribes, and bring again that which was driven away, Judah and Levi that are not here. You got that? Lost, the 10 tribes. Bring again that which was driven away, those that are in Judah and Levi, the 2 tribes that would, comprise Judah that were driven away. And will bind up that which was broken. That sounds a lot like Hosea 6:1 and 2. And will strengthen that which was sick. The word for strengthen, Strong's puts it into English as fasten, seize, be strong. Be strong sounds good. So strengthen's not so bad. That which was sick. So what does that mean, right? But I will not sick anymore as a minimum, but I will destroy the fat and the strong. Those are the Satan bots. I will feed them with judgment, on them. And as for you, O my flock, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I judge between cattle and cattle, between the rams and the goats. Seemeth a small thing unto you to have eaten up the good pasture, but you must tread down with your feet the residue of your pasture, and to have drunk of the deep water, but leave you the residue with your feet. So he's making an analogy, because he's referring to Israel as sheep, that they eat and drink the best that the pasture has, and then leave the leftover junk for the Israelites, and that's what goes on today. They're eating the junk. And as for my flock, they eat that which... Now, Satan, when you read Revelation 20, Revelation 12, goes after... Well, I could... 19. Let me go there and show it to you. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, Israel, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keepeth the commandments of God, and have the testimony of Yeshua. So these are New Testament believers that are following the law, which are the commandments of God. Now, Ezekiel 34, we'll go back. Verse 19, I think I was on. Verse 20, therefore thus saith Adonai Jehovah unto them, behold, even I will judge between the fat cattle and between the lean cattle. The lean cattle are the regular poor people, the trodden down, the bent over, the feeble, the old. Widows, often the poor people. Because you have thrust with side and with shoulder. They sue the poor people in court and all this, and pushed all the diseased with your horns, till you have scattered them abroad. The they try to run them out of Israel, and they don't do a great job, but they keep them from coming here. Therefore will I save my flock, and they shall no more be a prey. And I will judge between cattle and cattle. That's, you could think of as sheep and sheep. And I will set up one shepherd over them, and he shall feed them, even my servant David, he shall feed them, and he shall be their shepherd. And Jehovah will be their, Jehovah Elohim, and my servant David a prince among them. I, Jehovah, have spoken it. This is the anointed prince in the next temple, which you could read about in Ezekiel 45 from the line of David. Ultimately, it will transition to Yeshua in New Jerusalem. And I will make with them a covenant of peace. Now, Yeshua was the peace offering, so it's involving Yeshua. And will cause the evil beasts to cease out of the land. And those are the bad ones. The word for cease is Shabbat. To rest. I think you could use it to make cease, or maybe it means to stop working, because they do evil work. Stop from working. They're not, okay. You'll see what happens to them. I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil, the word for evil is Ra, bad. Kai, the beast, same word. Yep. To cease out of the land. It means literally living. To cease out of the land. And they shall dwell safely in the wilderness. That's what Israel's referred to now. It's Sion. In this case, it's Midbar, which yeah, you could say wilderness, I guess, the woods or something, and sleep in the woods. Now, why we're going to be sleeping in the woods, or the people yet to come are going to sleep in the woods, is a good question. Maybe there is going to be some destruction in Israel, or maybe there's going to be so many coming that there's no room in the houses. Or both combined, I don't know. And I will make them in the places round about my hill. That's Mount Zion, which is not there yet. It was dismantled many centuries ago by an army. And I will make the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down. In his season there may be showers of blessing. Maybe that's what we just had. And the tree of the field shall yield, and it is the season for the rains. And the tree of the field shall yield her fruit, and the earth shall yield her increase, and they shall be safe, and their land shall know that I am Jehovah when I have broken the bands of their yoke. They're going to know him when he breaks the bands of their yoke. Now, this yoke is the domestic yoke, enemies internal. Not the external enemies. This is the internal enemies. And it says when he does that, they're going to know he's Jehovah. Why? That's what we're going to figure out. And deliver them out of the hand of those that serve themselves of them, which is the government and the rabbis. And they shall no more be a prey to the heathen, neither the beasts of the land devour them, but they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid. And I will raise up for them a plant of renown, and they shall be no more consumed with hunger, and the land neither bear the shame of the heathen anymore. So it's not saying famine, it's saying hunger, which is close, but let's look the word hunger up. Ra'ab, it can mean it's not, it could mean a famine, but it's more like hunger. Thus shall they know that I, Jehovah Elohim, am with them, and they, even the house of Israel, are my people, saith Adonai Jehovah. So when this happens, they're going to know that God's with them. And this is the internal yoke of the government. And I need to go for a quick break. Yep. So when this is over, they know who their Lord is. So we're going to keep going, and I'm going to start putting pieces together for you. All right. Thus shall they know that I am Jehovah Elohim, that I, Jehovah Elohim, with them, that they, even the house of Israel, are my people, saith Jehovah, it saith Adonai Jehovah. And you, my flock, the flock of my pasture, that's Israel, are men, and I am your Elohim, I am Elohim, Adonai Jehovah. So this has not yet happened today. But based on October 7th, I think it's right around the corner. Now, what we're hearing today coming from the ultra-Orthodox and some people in government is when the war with Lebanon starts, you might not have electric or water and stuff like that for a day or two. And they're also beginning to tell the people that there's going to be an invasion, a land incursion, an infiltration from Lebanon. And they're telling the people to just hide. Now, this is not coming from official government sources. Now, this could be some jackass rabbis prophesying, I don't know. Probably rooting to that. So, they're trying to convey to them that we're going to get infiltrators from Lebanon. Now, that's a tough thing to deal with because what it means is killing men, women, children, raping, burning them alive, cutting fetuses out of them, burning it. You know, is this really going to happen again? That's what we got to explore. How does he kill the bad shepherds? This is the mystery. How did they get killed? How? Let's go to work. Malachi 3. Verse 1. Behold, I will send my Malach, which means messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Now, that's Elijah, okay? And Adonai, whom you seek, shall suddenly come to his temple. That is the glory of God of Israel. So the temple precedes him. Could he be here first with the tabernacle? It's a possibility. I don't know. Even the messenger of the covenant, whom you delight in, behold, he shall come, saith Jehovah of armies. I believe that's referencing to the messenger again, not Adonai, which is Elijah, because the Jews are waiting for Elijah to come and teach them Torah, and he will. But who may abide the day of his coming? There it is. Let's look up the word coming. 934 bow. It's come, really. Well, let me see how Storms plays this word out in English. Well, come is okay. But who may abide the day, and let's check that word, yom, it means day, of his coming. So he comes on a day. And who, now the word come is bow. What the heck's going on here? It could be right. Okay. And who shall stand when he appeareth? There we go. It's appeareth, when he appears, Ra. When they see him, okay, that's when he's working openly. For he is like a refiner's fire. Think fire coming out of his mouth, which could be lightning. And like fuller's soap. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, the Levites, and purge them as gold and silver. Get the dross, the Talmud out of them, the Kabbalah out of them, get the truth in them. And purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer. That's what I've done with you. I've purged the dross out of you. I've purified you like gold and silver with the scriptures, right? Get it? Some will. That they may offer unto Jehovah an offering in righteousness. You see, you can't bring him the offerings, and at the same time you're a mean landlord, you're an adulterer, you're hurting the strangers, and that's how they are now. They follow Shabbat, they go to synagogue, and they cut their fellow Israelis' throats because they can't. Not literally, but economically. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem, so the 10 tribes are not back, be pleasant unto Jehovah, as in the days of old, as in the former years. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, against the adulterers, against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages, and the widow, and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith Jehovah of hosts. So, there's your answer. That's Ezekiel 34. He's going to be a swift witness. Is Elijah going to be one of the witnesses and Father God Jehovah the other, like it went with Yeshua? Yeah. Elijah's father is Jehovah, like with Yeshua. Basically, they're brothers from heaven. And against false swearers and against those that are... This is Ezekiel 34. For I am Jehovah. So when he works open, when Elijah starts working openly, they get it. For I am Jehovah, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Yaakov are not consumed. Even from the unforgivable sin is blaspheming the Holy Spirit. So if they worshipped idols, adultery, drugs, and whatever they did, they could be forgiven and straightened out. Okay? Look at Paul. He was even killing believers. Even from the days of your fathers you are gone away from my ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, saith Jehovah of armies. But many of them will not hear of this. They don't want it. They want Satan. But you said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have not robbed, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into my storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith Jehovah of armies, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it, and I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes. Now it's sounding like the book of Joel. The devourer are the locusts and the palmerworms and the cankerworms. For he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith Jehovah of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, But we got these bugs here now too, I suppose. And all nations shall call you blessed, for you shall be a delightsome land, saith Jehovah of hosts. Your words have been stout against me, saith Jehovah. Yet you say, what have we spoken so much against thee? You have said it is vain to say. Hold on a second. I want to put adjust the brightness on this thing a little bit. You have said it is vain to serve Elohim, and what profit is it that you have kept his ordinance, and that you have walked mournfully before Jehovah of armies? And now we call the proud happy, yea, that's the Espots. They that work wickedness, the Espots, are set up. Yea, they that tempt God are even delivered. Then they that feared Jehovah spake often one to another, and Jehovah hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Jehovah and that thought upon his name. Sound like you? And that thought upon his name, and they shall be mine, saith Jehovah of armies, in that day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spared his only son that serveth. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked. And that sounds like second Exodus. That serveth God, and him that serveth him not. Now, let's go to the next chapter and see if we get some insights. For behold, the day in Malachi 4, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Jehovah of armies, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. This sounds a lot like Zechariah 12 to me. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. Sounds like Zechariah 12 to me. In the day that I shall do this, saith Jehovah of hosts, remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Eliah the prophet before the coming, let's check that word, coming, of the great dreadful day of Jehovah. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite Haaretz, the land of Israel, with a curse. It's interesting, huh? We'll do Zechariah 12 next. Okay, we got S-bots in the chat. Okay, let me see if we got any prayer requests that came in. Give me a second, I want to check for prayer requests. I don't want to miss anything. I don't think so. So we're going to look at Zechariah 12 and see if it really is the, like, Ezekiel 8-11, Zechariah 14, Ezekiel 38-39, okay, and the book of Joel, and Isaiah 13-14. So let's go into Zechariah 12 and start pointing things out. The burden of the word of Jehovah for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretcheth forth the heavens, and layeth the foundation of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege. Now, a siege is a surrounding a place. You cut it off from food and shipments, and you attack them from there, but it's not yet an invasion. It precedes an invasion, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. So we don't have the land back, and we don't have the 10 tribes here, the lost tribes. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. Though all the people of the earth, it's the heathen of the land, it could mean the earth, be gathered together against it. In that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and that's all who's here now, Judah and Levi, and that's what it is now, although you do have a rather small amount of Benjamin, but it's predominantly Levi and Judah that's here now. Okay, Levi would be the Levites, and the Kohanim are part of Levi. Okay, so it's talking about now. So it's not talking about a post-second Exodus yet. But we'll keep going. Over my eyes. Now, open his eyes. Now, that means he turns his face towards Israel. How can it not mean that? Your eyes are in the front of your face. That's a big deal. The word for eyes is ayin, which is eyes. And will smite every horse of the people with blindness. Now, the Arabs have a lot of horses. They could be coming in on horses for some reason, or it could be allegorical, referencing military vehicles or something. I don't know. And the governors of Judah. What the heck is this? This is the chieftains of Judah. These are the judges. These are your two witnesses. We're going into Isaiah 1:24 now to understand this better. Therefore saith Adonai Jehovah of armies, the mighty one of Israel, I will ease me of my adversaries and avenge me of my enemies. And I will turn my hand upon thee and purely purge away thy dross and take away all thy tin. That's what we were just reading that Elijah's doing, right? And I will restore. It would mean return. Thy judges. Shaphat. As at the first. And thy counselors as at the beginning. Afterward thou shalt be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Now, God used to run Israel with the judges. Not every time did it work out so great, but many times it did. As at the first, Rishon, the first, Moses and Aaron were prophets and judges. And then counselors. Moses and Aaron had the 70 counselors. As at the beginning. So to be a judge, you had to be a prophet, which the two witnesses are. It says it in Revelation 11. Zion, which is a word that means a parched place, which is our land now, shall be redeemed. I don't know what to tell you. It means redeemed. With judgment. That's when Elijah and probably Jehovah will be a swift witness against them. Ezekiel 34. And her converts doesn't mean converts, it means returnees, those that returned. With righteousness. And the destruction of the transgressors and of the sinners shall be together. And they that forsake the Lord shall be consumed. For they shall be ashamed of the oaks which you have desired, and you shall be confounded for the gardens that you have chosen. For you shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that hath no water. Speaking of the wicked. And the strong shall be as tow. It's a strand of flax. And the maker of it as a spark. And they shall both burn together, and none shall quench them. This could have a double meaning. Number one, the witnesses burn them up, or Elijah burns them up, who's one of the witnesses. And it could also represent their eternity in the lake of fire. So, in that day, saith Jehovah, I will smite every horse with astonishment, rider. Okay, that's the invaders, or the ones laying siege. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength in Jehovah of armies, their God. And let's break this down. The governors, we know what that is, the judges of Judah, that's the land we have now, not in the future, shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem. It really just says Jerusalem. The word the inhabitants of is not in the text. Jerusalem, and then it says the word strength, which is Amsah. Strength, it's strength, Jehovah, armies, Elohim. So it's saying Jerusalem. They've twisted this. Let me give it to you what it's really saying. And the governors. It just says the governors, which is the judges. Judges, Judah. Omer, say or speak. Heart is Lev. Okay, so it's saying the judges, Judah, speak in their Lev, in their heart. Jerusalem, strength, Jehovah, armies, Elohim. They've twisted it. It's not talking about the inhabitants. It's talking about Jerusalem. So it doesn't really mean there's a lot of Jehovah of hosts, their God. It doesn't say their God. It just says Elohim. They're confusing this. You see, it's not. It doesn't say what they're trying to get you to think it says. So it's saying the judges of Judah will speak or say in their heart, Jerusalem, strength, Jehovah of hosts, Elohim. Okay, they're saying it's like their strength or something. In that day will I make the judges of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left hand, and Jerusalem. Okay, so it's talking about those that are laying siege to Jerusalem, which could be many millions. And Jerusalem, and it says inhabited, it says no, it says dwell. And they say again, it's saying, it's so they're twisted. Jerusalem dwell still or continually in our own place. even in Jerusalem. So it's saying Jerusalem is staying in Jerusalem. It doesn't say inhabited again. That's the Schofield twisting they're putting in, you know. Jehovah also shall save, and that word is Yasha, from the name of Yeshua. I could say save. The tents of Judah first. It should be Rishon. It is. That the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Now, that could be speaking of the tribe of Judah, but not likely, because the house of David's still within the tribe of Judah. But to the Jew first, then the Goyim. But the house of David gets treated a little differently. And Jerusalem is still in Judah, so I guess it means the countryside of Judah. Or maybe it means, no, you don't magnify yourself. It must mean the tribe of Judah. In that day, because Yeshua is from Judah, but he's also from the house of David. So you got me on this one a little bit right now. I guess it means the regular tribe of Judah, not in the line of David and not living in Jerusalem. In that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as Elohim, the angel of the Lord, before them. So the feeble are the weak old people, bent over, walking, and all that stuff, right? And they become like David, who killed Goliath and a bear and a lion. And the house of David, that's the line Yeshua came from, really. But it's not a tribe, it's a lineage within Judah. Shall be as Elohim, as the angel of the Lord before them. Well, he killed the angel of the Lord before them, killed 130,000 in one day. And this is very different. Their bodies are not the same. And it shall come to pass in that day, it's all that day, that I will seek to destroy all the Goyim, the heathen, that came against Jerusalem. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So he pours on the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem. So they're not all believers there in Jerusalem. I had that wrong. I didn't translate it word by word. The spirit of grace and of supplications. Okay, grace word means favor. Chen. Let's see if we can. Let's see what Strong's puts it into English as. Graciousness. Yeah. And supplications means to like to pray, I think. Let's see what Strong's uses for this. Yeah, like pray. So the Spirit's poured out on them. Okay, and then what? And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him. Now, that's Yeshua. They're believers. John 6:40 kicks into gear here. You can't escape this. You can't. You just can't escape it. John 6:40 And this is the will of him that sent me. This is Jehovah's will. That everyone which seeth the Son, which they just saw, and believeth on him, well, they just had the Spirit poured out on them, so they're believers, may have everlasting life. Well, don't let them tell you it's in the millennium. It's right then. And I will raise them up at the last day. The ones that are going to tell you it happens in the millennium are not going to admit that everybody gets raised up at the last day, which means there's no more days, which means it's after the millennium is over and Satan is released and gathers them like the sand of the sea and surrounds Jerusalem and New Jerusalem, and Father God burns everything up from heaven and comes down, and we meet him in the air on clouds because there's nothing to stand on, and we go up to heaven. And they'll tell you that's not the case. So forget them. And then they mourn for him as one mourneth for his only, and they shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for firstborn. And in that day there shall be great mourning in Jerusalem, as the mourning of Hadramon in the valley of Megiddo. And then we go, it just breaks the mourning down by the different tribes and houses, and you can see that the 10 tribes are not there at all. Okay? And then we go to chapter 13. In that day, was still on the same day, there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. And it shall come to pass that in that day, so their sins are gone, come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah of hosts, that I will cut off the names of the idols out of the land, and they shall no more be remembered. And also I will cause the prophets and the unclean spirits to pass out of the land. So the demons are gone. The prophets are the bad ones, the rabbis and stuff. And it shall come to pass that when any shall yet prophesy, then his father and his mother that begat him shall say unto him, Thou shalt not live, for thou speakest lies in the name of Jehovah. And his father and his mother that begat him shall thrust him through when he prophesieth. So this is the judgments of the Lord that are being followed. And it shall come to pass in that day, again that day, that the prophets shall be ashamed, every one of his vision, when he hath prophesied, neither shall they wear a rough garment to deceive. He shall say, I am no prophet, I'm a husbandman, for man taught me to keep cattle from my youth. And one shall say unto him, What are these wounds in thy hands? Then he shall answer, Those with which I was wounded in the house of my friends. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith Jehovah of hosts. Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. And I will turn my hand upon the little ones. That's to protect them a little bit. It's not turning his face towards them, though, much more reduced. And it shall come to pass that in all the lands, saith Jehovah, 2 parts therein shall be cut off, that's 2/3 and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and refine them as silver is refined, and try them as gold is tried. Now this is Elijah purging them. This is what's going on here. This is the third part that's left. When that happens, the 2/3 were cut off. Who can stand when he appeareth? He gets rid of them. For they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, It is my people. And they shall say, Jehovah Elohim. So, we're not finished. that gets us to the point that there is eternal life for the people there that look upon the one whom they have pierced after the Spirit is poured out on them and they're believers. So we've got that far so far. Okay. Now we got to look through some other prophecies and try to create some sequencing here that's correct. And I'll be right back. Pray for a second here. It's not going to be that difficult to show you that Zechariah 12 is not Gog and Magog. It's rather simple, actually. I reversed on my own position for a while, and the Lord's brought me back to it. So I'll do it quickly. It's not hard. When I take these breaks, I usually get some insight from the Lord. Okay. I don't even need to use the scriptures. When we go to Ezekiel 8-11, what happens is there's much rebellion in the temple with the glory of God in the temple, and he leaves the temple. And then an attack comes. And the bad ones in Israel go off into captivity, half of them, and many get killed, they get raped. This doesn't sound like Zechariah 12 at all. And it doesn't sound like they're going to be coming in from Lebanon and Gaza and Syria and killing the government and the rabbis. How would that work? They'd kill everybody. You know. So far, Lebanon's not happened. If they if they get in with infiltrators, they got to pass by a whole flippin' army that we have up there with tanks, helicopters, jets in the air, mobile artillery. You know, if they're going to play some games like October 7th, the soldiers are aware of October 7th. Believe me, they know how mysterious it is. If they're being led for something like this to happen, they're not going to listen to the government of Israel anymore. It's not America or China or Russia. It's a small country. The soldiers up there, if infiltrators come in, they're going to kill their brothers, their sisters, their mothers, their fathers, their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their friends, their neighbors. They all know this, not some of them. They all know this. They're not going to let this happen. They're not going to leave gaps open, or they'll scream bloody murder if that's tried. Now, is it possible that Hezbollah has a superior army? Come on. They don't have it. What about a combined attack from Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time against Israel? Hamas is 60% defunct. They're in disarray. They're not functioning together. I think there's 2 battalions and they are not coordinating anymore. What are they going to do? They can barely get any rockets out. What are they going to do? There's tons of troops there. They're not going to let them come into Israel again. That's not going to happen. The people in the communities there are armed now. Not a lot of arms, but enough to repel them. The reason they did October 7th is Netanyahu disarmed much of Israel. So they knew there was going to be no resistance. They didn't even wear bulletproof vests. This is how sick Netanyahu is, how demented he is. And I use the word he incorrectly, I believe. He is it. Let's call him it. It is, because I don't know what it is, you know. It is a sicko, okay? Now, I've told you he'll destroy Israel before he goes to jail, but I don't think the Knesset's going to go for that, and the soldiers aren't going to go for it. The police aren't going to go for it. Do I think Hezbollah will devastate Israel with missiles and rockets? No. Do I think it's possible that they'll devastate the Knesset and the synagogue? No. It appears to be Elijah gets rid of them. Who can stand when he appeareth? It's Elijah getting rid of them. Gog and Magog, are we living in peace and safety at rest without bars and walls with much cattle, silver, and gold? No! It can't be Gog and Magog now. Does Gog and Magog sound like Zechariah 12? Well, when you read Ezekiel 8 to 11, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Does it sound like Malachi 3? No. They already have a temple doing the offerings in those days. Does it sound like the book of Joel with a big famine and everything? There's no famine here. Our bellyache in the store because certain brands are missing or something. You know, no, there's no famine here. And there's no offerings to be cut off at the temple in the book of Joel. What temple? Nobody's building a temple. There's schmucks on the internet that can keep telling you to build it. There's no building of any temple. There's nothing. Forget it. It can't be. Thick-headed Moshe needed to work this through pretty thoroughly, and the Lord had to correct me again. It can't be the same thing. I don't see how it could be. In Daniel 9, the anointed prince gets cut off. Do you see an anointed prince in Israel today? No. Is the guy here someplace? I'm pretty sure he is. I don't know much about him, but he how's he going to be cut off to be anointed? I imagine either Apostle John or Elijah is going to have to anoint him with oil, right? And that hasn't happened yet. Is Apostle John also a prophet? Yeah, it says it tells him you will have to prophesy to many people and stuff, unfulfilled predicament of his prophesying. So he's a prophet. So you can't put Zechariah 12 into Gog and Magog. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I think my original position on that was the right one. You can't put it in. I mean, there's nothing to talk about, really. I don't see how. I don't see it. I don't see it. We could look at Isaiah 13, but I don't know if that's the same thing. Let me do my notes, and then we'll cut through some like Luke and Matthew. Here's a rough spot I uncovered today. Jeremiah 23:12. I didn't know about this scripture till today. It's a stumper, but I think I can deal with it. Should I back up a few verses? Let's go to 23:8. But Jehovah liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither he had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. That's the second Exodus prophecy. My heart within me is broken because of the prophets, which all my bones shall shake. I am like a drunken man, and like a man whom wine hath overcome. Because of Jehovah and because of the words of his holiness. This is the prophet speaking. Jeremiah. For the land is full of adulterers now, tons of it. For because of swearing, that means they take false oaths and lie in court, the land mourneth. The pleasant places of the wilderness are dried up, and their course is evil, and their force is not right. Nothing's really dried up here at all. For both prophet and priest are profane. Yea, in my house have I found their wickedness, saith Jehovah. In my house. There's no house here now. Got it? Wherefore their way shall be unto them as slippery ways in the darkness. They shall be driven on and fall therein, for I will bring evil upon them. Even the year of their visitation, saith Jehovah. A year of visitation, this is something interesting. Let me check something historical. Titus put the siege on Jerusalem in 70 AD, and I think let me check, April, I think. Yeah. In August, he breached the final defenses and massacred much of the remaining population, destroying the temple. That would have been the 9th of Av in August. I imagine that it started before April, because April was when he boxed them in. I'm going to have to assume, because it's a year of visitation, that whole year it was on Jerusalem, and it's not the year of recompenses. So I think we need to just move off of that. I don't think it's got a great deal of relevancy. It also talks about prophets of Samaria. That's in the West Bank, and what prophets are in Samaria, I don't even know. Well, I think because it's talking about him in the house, we could stop this. It's not something we need to deal with. I believe it's past. Okay, I want to look at something else here. This is something. Luke 17:30. Even thus shall be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. Uncovered, revealed. How does Strong's convert the word to English? Take off the cover, disclosed, revealed. This doesn't sound to me like the second coming. Revealed? I don't think so. Let's back it up. Luke 17:25. But first must he suffer many things and be rejected of this generation. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives. They were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also, as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. The same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. And in that day, that's the day he's revealed, be on the housetop and his stuff in the house. And this was not 70 AD. Let him not come down to take it away. And he that is in the field, him likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife. Whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. I tell you that in that night there shall be two men in one bed. One is taken and the other is left. Two women be grinding together in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. Two men shall be in the field, one shall be taken and the other left. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Lord? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, thither will the eagles, think vultures, be gathered together. So this is pretty interesting. See how hard this is? It's really hard. This is some of the greatest mysteries, secrets in the Bible that are not obviously explained, and you have to dig them out, and it's really hard. The question is, does revealed mean they see him as returning to earth, or do they see him as a sign of the coming of the Son of Man? why would it say sign of the coming of the Son of Man if it was the return of Yeshua? You see, this is another stumbling block. Because it wouldn't be the sign of the coming of the Son of Man, it would be the coming of the Son of Man. So there really has to be two separate events. I think that's inescapable. I'm really struggling with this. It's not easy. If you think it's easy, you're probably not doing it right. Let me check my notes. Ezekiel 38:39 talks about the land brought back from the sword, peace and safety. I covered that. It can't possibly be the same thing as Zechariah 12 because the siege is going on. That's not, peace and safety. It's not a surprise attack. It's a siege first. I think we'll go to Matthew. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, yet you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. That's the end of the age, I would say. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. That's really ruler against ruler. The other one is country against country. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Now, if they continue, now the Houthis just said, by the way, they're going to cut those cables. They said they're going to proceed to do that. The cables are on the west of Yemen and under the south of Yemen. The fiber optic cables for the internet. And I do believe, from my investigation, the SWIFT banking cables for international money transfers is those cables. I don't believe the SWIFT have their own cable system. And that will cause much trouble for the Middle East, parts of Africa, parts of the Mediterranean nations, India, big time trouble. And with the banking, it'll mess up foreign banking very badly around the world. India has 12 warships in the Red Sea. Some may still be coming, but some are definitely there. And they may take it upon themselves to rain horror down on the Houthis. They're not submitting to the American coalition, but of course they're not going to oppose them. They'll coordinate. They're not going to let the Americans tell them what to do. So they may rain tremendous horror down on the Houthis, but it's not going to stop them unless they do ground invasion. It's going to hurt them. But they may try to get them, instead of trying to hit, missiles and launchers and storage facilities, they may try to hit people. Modi can have blood in his teeth in a moment's notice. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Well, that doesn't seem to apply to what happened in 70 AD. But when it says then, it could mean at that time. Let's see how Strong's uses the word. Yeah, at the time, I guess, or it could mean, it's kind of vague. And then it says, deliver you seems accurate. Deliver you to be afflicted, to it just means pressure. Deliver you to pressure you. And then it says, shall kill you. Let's check that word. Yeah, it sounds like kill you. And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So does that appear that it happens? Don't know yet. That's the dog. I don't know about that one. It's hard. I'll have to work on that. It could be referencing what's going to happen to the apostles. It could be referencing what's going to happen in our time. And many false prophets shall rise and deceive many. And because of lawlessness shall abound, love of many wax cold. He that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all heathen, and then shall the end come, the end of the age. And this has not happened yet. If you're going to believe the church is preaching the true gospel, I don't know how I could help you. You got to go back and learn. Go to my channel and start watching a lot of videos. They're in the live section. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, let him understand. Now this is Gog and Magog. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Nobody's fleeing in Zechariah 12. Neither let him which is in the field return. But pray you that your flight be not in winter. And this is great tribulation, never been. This is Gog and Magog. It's not Zechariah 12. Then he gives us a warning against false Christs and false prophets, signs and wonders. This probably ties to the beast, which is not yet. And then he's talking about people saying the Christ is here, the Christ is there, which would mean the people were saying that the second coming happened already. So in Matthew 27, it says, "For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also be the coming of the Son of Man be." So this is using the coming word, not the revelation or the sign. And Strong's puts that word how? Being near, that is, advent, return, specifically of Christ. Presence. So let's just think this is the actual second coming for a minute or two. "For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered," the vultures. "Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened." Now this is talking about Gog and Magog. "The sun will be darkened, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall down from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken." This is Joel 2. This is the actual day of the Lord. "And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven." See, he's not coming to earth. It's revealed, it's appearing, it's a sign. Let's go very carefully with this. And it's the word "and" is kai, which means and. And then the word "then" could mean then, when, at the time, that, or the time. And the word for appear is Strong's 53:16. It means to cause to appear, bring to light. See? To show. So we're getting a lot of evidence. There's an appearing and there's an actual return, I'll be sure. The appearing preceding it, of course. "Appear the sign," 45:92. And what does Strong say about this word in English? It's an indication, supernaturally and miraculously, a sign, a token, a wonder. Comes from the base of 45:91, which is a sign. "And then shall all the tribes of the land," Haaretz, mourn. This is Zechariah 12. It gotta be. "And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." And it's just talking about the tribes in the land mourning. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, this sounds to me like this is when they're in the air. We don't read of a trumpet in Zechariah 12. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, you know that summer is nigh. So likewise, you, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things are fulfilled. I imagine he's speaking about the people that are going to live for the start of this. And then we read in 39, it says, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. This is his actual return. Then shall two be in the field, one will be taken and one will be left. Two women grinding at the, so this is probably the Matthew 13 harvest. All right, let's do Luke 21. Look for more insight, okay? Let me peek at the chat, make sure we don't have any troublemakers, which we seem to be collecting these days. I don't, Scientology is not real. Okay, he sees the woman casting in, and he looked and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury, and he saw also a certain poor widow casting in thither 2 mites. And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow hath cast in more than they all. For all these have of their abundance cast in unto the offerings of God, but she of her penury hath cast in all the living that she had. So you think the Lord would have paid her back, or just would have said, stupid woman gave too much? Well, he would have paid her back, because she was putting the kingdom of God first, as I see it. And I guess I'm right. And as some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts, he said, as for these things which you behold, the days will come in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. He was referencing here this particular temple, the 70 AD destruction. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? What sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that you be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near, go you not therefore after them. This probably happened back then, and it's certainly happening in our days. But when you shall hear of wars and commotions, that's disturbances, protests, demonstrations, riots, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet by and by. Then said he unto them, that's the end of the age. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, that's country against country, and kingdom against kingdom, that's ruler against ruler. And great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Now that could be the moon going to blood and the sun going dark, and then later on the stars lose their light and the moon goes to dark and the sun goes to dark. It could be something else. But before all these they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and prisons, into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. It says here, before all these things, so that's before these birth pangs. So here we understand he's speaking to the apostles, because we're in the birth pangs and this hasn't happened. Get that down. Okay, what do you mean? Well, we've had a lot of earthquakes around the world. We've had famines, we've had pestilences. You know, the temple's been destroyed already. You know, so I think it says before all these things. I think this was directed at the apostles, not us. And that's how it should be interpreted, I believe. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. Settle therefore in your hearts not to meditate before what you shall answer, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay, twist around for their advantage, nor resist. And you shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends. This is 70 AD. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not one hair of your head perish. In your patience possess ye your souls. And when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. This is not Zechariah 12. They don't desolate Jerusalem in Zechariah 12. They get burned up. The enemy gets burned up. This is 70 AD. Then let them which are in Judah flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart and let not them that are in the countries enter therein. Well, Zechariah 12 doesn't talk about any of this. For these are the days of vengeance, plural, that all things which are written may be fulfilled. But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be taken away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Goyim until the times of the Goyim are fulfilled. It doesn't say time of times, a half a time, or 1260 or 42 months. It's until it's over. And that's been going on for a long time now. Since 70 AD, roughly, I guess. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon. We covered that. That's the great day of the Lord. That's Joel 2. And the stars shall not give their light upon the earth, and distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. We don't see that today. Men's hearts failing them for fear. And looking for those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And that's the great day of the Lord. That's Gog and Magog. And then shall they, we don't read this in Zechariah 12 at all. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now here they see the Son of Man coming, but he's coming in the cloud. This is not Revelation 19 with him riding on a horse coming with the armies of heaven. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. So he's talking about the year of redemption. When he returns, the year of, well, okay, it could be the year of redemption when he returns. And he spake to them a parable, behold. Maybe not. We're going to have to hold off on this one because it's. I need to spend more time researching this. It says, when these things begin to come to pass. Well, that's already happened. Have they not begun? Let's check the word begun. 756. First, let's see what Strong says. Precedence. Okay. Look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Now, the redemption draweth nigh would lift up your heads is when you see the sign of the Son of Man. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. This could be the sign. And then he goes on in Luke 21:31. So likewise you, when you see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Well, I think when Yeshua comes in the clouds on the white horse with the armies of heaven, I don't know if you would want to say the kingdom of God is nigh at hand. Let's see what that word means. squeeze or throttle. Near. Near ready. No, I am not so sure that would be appropriate. This generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Well, he couldn't be talking to the generation back then because they passed away. He's talking about the generation, our generation, that's going to see the birth pangs. And he's saying you're not going to pass away until all be fulfilled. All be fulfilled would minimally be the millennium and so forth. So that means you're getting eternal life, doesn't it? I'm not going to get into everything today. I can't handle it all in one day. But I'm going to do a little bit more with you with Jacob's trouble. That'll be enough for one day. And there's going to be more coming, believe me, about eternal life for those in America and that Exodus. And then, you know, it's too much for one day. Then he says, for as a snare shall come on all them that dwell on the face of the earth, of the whole earth. Watch therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things, and that shall come to pass, and stand before the Son of Man. All right, let's go to Jeremiah 30 and cover this real quick. Thus speaketh Yehovah Elohim Yisrael, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book, for lo, verse 1, the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, thus speaking Yehovah Elohim Yisrael, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith Yehovah, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah. So this is the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes, total 12, saith Yehovah, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. Let me just check the chat quickly. A little worried about the type of people running around in here. Okay, not much going on back. And these are the words that Jehovah spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. So he's separating the 10 tribes Israel, the 2 tribes Judah. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, not of peace. So for these events, we're not going to be looking at an antichrist or beast or whatever, talking peace with covenants and stuff like that. Are we? If we are, we're screwing up, aren't we? Yes, we are. A voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness? Alas, for that day is great, that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Now, Zechariah 12:10, keep those in your head, okay? The burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretches forth the heavens and layeth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all. The cup of trembling is like the cup of the wrath of the Lord. It makes him tremble like somebody that's been drinking for a day or two and stops drinking and they start shaking. Trembling unto, but no alcohol involved, unto all the people round about, not to Jerusalem, to the people round about, when they shall be in the siege, both against Judah and against Jerusalem. Now that would make people scared. They would clutch their guts and their faces would turn pale, would they not? And in that day I will make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces, lacerated, sliced and diced. Though all the people of the earth, it's the heathen of the earth, gathered together against it. This is a massive amount of people. In that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse. Okay, sounding a lot like Jeremiah 30, no? Let's go back. For thus saith Jehovah, we have heard a voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. If they're laying a siege, there ain't no peace. Ask you now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail? That's the actual birth process. The birth pangs precede the travail. As you progress in the gestation period or the pregnancy period, the birth pangs become more intense, they hurt more, and more frequent. The travail is like the water broke, the cervix is dilated, the baby's crowning, whoop, here he comes. That's travail. And all their faces are turned into paleness. The blood's rushing to their guts. They're so scared, their faces go pale. Alas, that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. I have to go back to this is Zechariah 12:10. I'm sorry, forgive me, please. It can't be Gog and Magog because they're not saved out of it. Half go into captivity, the women are raped, the houses are looted, the blood is, come on, how could that be saved out of it? Thinking it has to be just true Jacob. He doesn't refer to the elect as Jacob. Okay, the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. The problem here is Jacob usually means the 12 tribes. But he's also an Israel patriarch, so I don't know about that. We'll have to go through that one. For it shall come to pass in that day that Jehovah of hosts, I will break his yoke from off thy neck. Well, that's the end of the government and the rabbis, which we read about in Malachi 3. But it says it happens in that day, so maybe he's breaking the foreign yoke off our neck. That's what I think this means. I will break his yoke. It doesn't say his, it just says yoke, which is 59, 23. So it's yoke. So it's break yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. Okay, it's making good sense. The strangers are the jackasses that were surrounding Judah and Jerusalem with the siege. In Malachi 3, Elijah already got rid of the rabbis and the government. Who can stand in that day, remember? And strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. That's the foreign yoke. But they shall serve Jehovah Elohim and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. and I believe it's more like the anointed prince. The word for king is melech, which normally means king, but it also can mean a royal. Okay? Therefore, fear thou, but it says king. So I think it's referencing Yeshua. It doesn't matter one or the other. It's okay. I mean, it matters, but, you know. Therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah. It matters, but it's not affecting prophecy, sequencing, and timing, is what I mean to say. Forgive me, Lord, for that. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. O my servant Yaakov, saith Jehovah. Neither be dismayed, O Israel, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Yaakov shall return and be in rest, and be quiet, and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. Every nation that he dispersed the Israelites to over time is going to be destroyed in the times of the birth pangs, which is these days. And I figure you got about 100, 125 nations. And that could all happen this year. I'm trying to work all this out correctly for you, and it is hard. Nobody came before me to do this. When the apostles were around, they didn't have this current world. They wouldn't know how to put it into this current world. They wouldn't understand the Israel in 1948 to now. It's never been done. I'm sure Yeshua knew. For thus saith Jehovah, thy bruise is incurable, and thy wound is grievous. There is none to plead thy cause, that thou mayest be bound up. Thou hast no healing medicines. All thy lovers have forgotten thee. They seek thee not, for I have wounded thee with the wound of an enemy, and with the chastisement of a cruel one. For the multitude of thine iniquity, because thy sins were increased. Why criest thou for thine affliction? Thy sorrow is incurable. For the multitude of thy iniquity, because thy sins were increased, I have done these things unto thee. Therefore, all they that devour you shall be devoured. What is happening to Hamas and Gaza? They are being devoured. And all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. They don't have houses left in Gaza to live in anymore. Let's see what happens in Lebanon. And they that spoil thee shall be spoiled, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. Give for a prey. Maybe not to us, maybe to others. Is America not attacking the Muslim militias in Iraq and Syria? Look, what he attacked there, they hit 85 targets, 125 bombs and missiles. They killed 3 people. Right after they did the hit, they said, oh, we killed 3 of them. How did they know they killed 3 of them? I can't figure that one out. It takes time. What, the pilot eject out, parachute down, and have a little counter and take pictures of the... Come on. They were hitting multiple locations. How did they know there was 3 dead? It miraculously is the same amount of soldiers that they killed in the Jordan base attack. 3. Gee, what a coincidence. They shall be a spoil, and all that prey of them that shall be for a prey. So America's knocking on them pretty good. The Houthis tried to attack us with a lot of missiles and stuff, and there's a lot of countries assembling right now to make them out of a prey, to make the Houthis in Yemen into a prey. Guys, Gaza is so busted up in this year of recompenses. The streets are shut, the malls are gone, the stores are gone, the mosques, many are gone, the schools, the universities, the government buildings, the police stations. I think 85% of the houses are damaged and destroyed. The water is not good anymore. The internet and cell phones goes in and out all the time. The sewage is shut. They've got COVID epidemic. They got a famine over there. The Israelis now, for the 10th day, are blocking the humanitarian aid going into Gaza. They're saying no humanitarian aid for these unhumanitarian people. Look what they're doing to the hostages. They wouldn't let the medicines from Qatar, and maybe medical equipment. I think it was mostly medicines, but it could be equipment. I don't know. You know, like people got asthma or different problems. I don't know, but it was definitely medicines. They wouldn't let them have it. That's not humanitarian. The UN's not going to do anything about it. The ICJ's not going to do anything about it. You know that. We have no lovers anymore. America's using us for their own program. Will America attack Lebanon? I don't know. I'm searching the Lord. It's possible. We haven't attacked Lebanon yet. I told you it'd probably be 10, 15 days. The nations, Biden especially leading the charge, wants us to make a peace deal with Hamas. They know in the past, since 48, when the Arab countries attack us, they lose. God helps us. And then we get more land back. They don't want to see this anymore. That's why Biden is working day and night to create a peace deal with us. But Hamas is not cooperating. Biden may turn on Hamas because they're not cooperating. Okay? He might just tell Israel, they're not giving you the hostages, do whatever you want to them. Go ahead, do whatever you want. Tell me what you need. And he'll do that to set an example to the other militias and stuff. You don't go up against my plan. I'm working a snare here. It's more important than your crop. Now, he might do the same thing to Lebanon. He might attack Lebanon to send a message to Gaza that they got no hope. The Houthis are doing this to bail out Hamas. He's not that happy with the Houthis. He's attacking, but he's not doing it the right way yet. So he might do the same with Lebanon. I don't know. We did have one massacre on October 7th. Are there going to be more? I don't think so. For a lot of reasons, I don't think so. Okay. For I will restore health to thee, and will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Jehovah. Because that's the appearing of the Son of Man with John 6:40. What do you think it is? The word for health. Heal is Rapha, which is a medical type heal term. And restore health is 724, Strong's number. Healing and restoration. What is it when you see him and you're going to be like him? But restoration, redemption. It's not your redemption, but it's restoration. They called thee an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. Thus saith Jehovah, Behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakov's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places. And this sounds like it's after Zechariah 12. I think that Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, is Zechariah 12. I had it right. I deviated back off it. Sorry, forgive me. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. Sorry, guys. It's so hard doing this, I'm telling you. And the city shall be builded upon her own heap. It's saying remain still in her own place. They twisted it. And let's break the words down. Have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city that would be Jerusalem builded, Benah, established, continue. See, it really means continue in its own place. It doesn't mean build it. They're playing with it to make you think that some more horrible stuff happened here that doesn't happen. Upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. That's the temple. And out of them shall proceed thanksgiving and the voice of them that make merry, and I will multiply them. They shall not be few. I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. What the heck does glorify them mean unless they see the Son of Man and they have John 6:40 with everlasting life? The word glorify is where did it go? Hold on. Glorify them. Come on. I go with glorify. And they shall not be small. I used to think that we were going to be like Nephilim years ago, but when you say the small means it's insignificant. Their children also shall be as aforetime, and their congregations shall be established before me, and I will punish all that oppress them. And their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governors shall proceed from the midst of them. The two witnesses, of course, have to be Israelis. And I will cause him to draw near, and he shall approach unto me. For who is this that engaged his heart to approach unto me, saith Jehovah? Elijah, probably. Or Apostle John, or both. And you shall be my people, and I will be your God. Behold, the whirlwind of Jehovah goeth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall upon the head of the wicked. And the fierce anger of Jehovah shall not return until he have done it, until he hath performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days you shall consider it. That can mean on the bad shepherds in Israel and on the nations. Just got to remember that. Oh, it ain't easy, kids. All right, what's going on in the chat? Let's give a peek. Well, I think at this point we got to stop. I got to pursue a few more things. I'm still focusing. I want to make sure I get it right. Is the second Exodus timed with the harvest of daughter of Babylon? I got to get this down. And I didn't get it down yet, but it's coming. Okay? But we do know there's a harvest in the daughter of Babylon, and we know that it says those of you who survive the sword, but Zion come to mind. We know it's the year of recompenses, and the daughter of Babylon is going to go in the next 6 months, and you're going to be coming. But the Zechariah 12 could be over before you come, and it's not just you that's going to come, it's many others. I got to work this through again, and only so much you can put in one head at a time. These are some very, very difficult things to get through, believe me. Believe me. To just know they're going to happen is one thing, but to know they're going to happen in correct sequence and timing is a horse of another color. Knocks you out. So, I'm Moshe. My wife is Rivka. Please pray for us, our peace, safety, protection, and joy. And pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole, and not fight with each other or run away. They are beasts, you know. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos, and pray I get all the pieces put together correctly with these prophecies. Please pray for that. Thank you for the offerings. If you like to show you want to give to the work, PayPal's the best for me because it's the easiest to put into Israel. So I put that up in the chat. Just email me for the PayPal link. I don't like just putting it up. Just email me for that, and I'll send you an email back with the link in it. I also take Patreon and GoFundMe, and I have links for that in the description box underneath the video, and I also have it up in the chat. So what else can I tell you? That's really about it. I'm digging deep. We're going to get this better and better and better. And I'm sorry I'm bouncing around, but the reason I'm bouncing around is I'm trying. And I'm a work in progress, guys. I'm telling you that right now. But the amount of revelations we're getting in recent months is very, very high, and time is coming very, very short. And pretty soon, I think you'll be grinning ear to ear. Pretty soon. So I don't put a lot of stock in Lebanon destroying us or something like that. You know, we're going to have to watch all this, you know. So anyway, let's see, Yafa wants to come up and say hello, I think. You want to say hello? No, she doesn't want to say hello. She's got to go to the groomer, but I won't dare bring her in until the winter's over, so I just let her hair grow as long as she wants to let it, as it grows, so she stays warm when she goes outside and inside. Same with Chief. I just let the hair grow and grow and grow. Then when the spring comes, we get it cut down some, you know, so they don't get hot, but I just leave it. So, what else can I tell you? That's it. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I don't know what I'm going to be good for the rest of the day. Probably going to be limited to eating and taking a shower. That's going to be about it. You get brain fry. Okay, kids. And more is coming. I'm not done with this. We're digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and we will get there. Keep praying. And I'm out. Thanks.